Imagine a company so powerful that it accounts for 20% of a nation's annual GDP. In South Korea, it's not just a tech giant, it's the Republic of Samsung. We know Samsung for the phones in our pockets and the TVs in our living rooms. But behind that sleek blue logo lies a story that reads like a cross between a corporate biography and a season of Succession mixed with a political thriller. In 2017, the world was stunned when J.Y. Lee, the heir to this empire, was led away in handcuffs. But this wasn't just a corporate tax dispute. It was a descent into a world of secret cults, a $2.8 million luxury horse, and a bribery scandal so massive that it literally toppled a presidency. This is the story of how Samsung became a sovereign power and of the price paid for corporate succession, the stability of an entire democracy. To understand how an electronics manufacturer became embroiled in a shamanic political conspiracy, we must examine the Chaebol system. Following the Korean War, the government selected a few family-run businesses to rebuild the nation. These businesses were given cheap loans, protection from competition, and absolute power. Samsung was the crown jewel of this system. Over the decades, it grew into a monster, a corporation that became the backbone of the country's economy, but that also grew more powerful than the law itself. The crisis began in 2014 when Samsung's emperor, Lee Kun-hee, suffered a massive heart attack and fell into a coma. His son, J.Y. Lee, was the chosen successor. However, there was a significant obstacle in his way: South Korea's inheritance tax. In most countries, the transition of a CEO is determined by board votes. In the Republic of Samsung, however, it was a financial war. In order to avoid losing control of the business empire to the tax authorities, J.Y. Lee had to merge two specific Samsung subsidiaries, Samsung C&T and Cheil Industries. This merger was intended to consolidate his shares, but it was a bad deal for ordinary shareholders. It was a blatant power grab that would impoverish pension funds to enrich a prince. Every financial analyst could see the red flags. Even the renowned American hedge fund manager Paul Elliott Singer intervened to block it, describing the merger as unfair and illegal. In order to succeed, J.Y. Lee needed the government-controlled National Pension Service, the entity responsible for the retirement of millions of Koreans, to vote in favor of the merger. This is where the story shifts from boardroom drama to dark fairy tale. At the time, the president of South Korea was Park Geun-hye, who had a secret confidant named Choi Soon-sil. Choi was neither a politician nor an advisor. She was the daughter of a cult leader who supposedly had a shamanic influence over the president. Samsung began funneling tens of millions of dollars into non-profit foundations controlled by this mysterious woman. In one of the most bizarre details in financial history, they even spent $2.8 million on a world-class dressage horse for Choi's daughter. In exchange for these favors, the government pressured the pension service to vote in favor of the merger. The deal went through. The prince had his throne, but he had just made a deal with the devil. When the news broke, it wasn't just a scandal, it was a national trauma. Millions of South Koreans took to the streets for candlelight vigils, demanding justice. They realized that their retirement savings had been used to bribe a billionaire to avoid paying tax. The president was impeached and sentenced to 24 years in prison. J.Y. Lee, the most powerful man in the country, was imprisoned in a 6.5 square meter cell. However, it is here that we see the true power of a global monopoly. While J.Y. Lee was in prison, Samsung did not collapse. In fact, its profits hit record highs. The company had become so integrated into the global supply chain and the local economy that it was too big to fail, and perhaps even too big to jail. The South Korean government was faced with the terrifying prospect of a paralyzed economy without the leader of its largest business. In a move signaling the ultimate victory of corporate power over the rule of law, J.Y. Lee was granted a presidential pardon. The justification? The country needed him to navigate the global semiconductor shortage and secure the nation's economic future. Today, J.Y. Lee has returned to his office and is leading the Republic of Samsung as if nothing had ever happened. This is a chilling case study in modern finance. It proves that when a corporation becomes a vital organ of a country, the CEO owns the system, not just runs a business. In a democracy, we like to think that the law is the ultimate authority. But in the world of high finance and national champions, some leaders are simply too important to be imprisoned. Samsung has survived the scandal, the cult, and the prison sentence. However, it has left the world with a haunting question. If a company is more powerful than the government, who is really in charge of the future?